and welcome to my I Love Learning podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest with me. Today, I have JR Weaver, and he is an outreach coordinator. And I want to share before I have him introduce himself on what he's passionate about, tell you how I got connected to JR. And if you go to his Instagram page, you will have amazing messages of hope, amazing messages of kindness and goodness. And honestly, I fell upon JR's Instagram and he had a message post about a TEDx. So I reached out to him because I was really interested. And so that's how I fell upon JR. JR, thank you for joining me today. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone that's listening what you're passionate about?
Well, thank you for the kind introduction. My name's JR. I am a Army veteran in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is November 10th, 2017.
Mm,
I'm diagnosed with mental health and substance use disorders, sleep apnea,
mm,
the whole nine yards from the VA. I am, like I said, an Army veteran. I am the outreach coordinator for Costa Rica Recovery. I
mm.
am a certified peer support specialist in mental health and substance use disorders, the author of the Addiction Manifesto, a writer for Recovery Today magazine, a mentor for Boston Veterans Treatment Court.
Ooh,
I wear a lot of hats in my job, but it's all they're all connected, which I love. Recovery
absolutely.
is something that changed my life because I when I got out of the when I got out of active duty in 1990, it was I had a life plan all set up.
Mm,
Go to college, get my degree, international business,
mm.
marry my college sweetheart,
Oh.
buy a house, have kids, get a dog. I had it all laid out, and the minute I got in college, I couldn't sit still. I didn't know
Mm,
what was wrong with me. I'd get in my classes, and it's like I just felt so alone in such a
mm.
crowded space, and it's like I couldn't focus. I couldn't, it was like I was paralyzed. So
Wow.
I struggled early, and then what I found, the only thing that could really help me was alcohol. So I started
Mm,
drinking heavily.
mm,
I would drink after class, and then it,
mm,
it kind of turned into day drinking before class, during
mm,
the breaks before classes. So, my life kind of took on it was centered around alcohol. And what ended up happening was I ended up burning through 7 years of college, you know,
mm,
with about 60 credit hours, enough to be a college sophomore. And I recognized the pattern, and I kind of blamed it on being where I was at. So I decided that I needed to get a fresh start somewhere else. So I ended up moving, to New York, stayed with relatives, and just I started working professionally as
mm,
like a logistics manager, using my military experience to land these great jobs. And everything was going great, and then all of a sudden the alcohol came back into
mm,
my life. I left the door
mhm,
open, went out with a couple coworkers, and it just started the whole process right back to
mm,
where I was drinking heavily. It started as a weekend thing, and then they started seeping into during the week. And it was like I was showing up hungover. Some days I wasn't showing up at work, and
mm,
it just started steamrolling. And then that's when we started experimenting with the hard drugs, and then that's when life really started falling apart for me. And this was back when I was 25, 30 years old. So,
mm,
and it's just I mean, if you're familiar with addiction, it's like you
mhm,
start out as maybe you're just curious about it, or maybe you're just using recreational, but some of us we're just programmed different to where we can't stop. It's like me. I
mm,
know if I go to the store and pick up a drink,
mm,
I'm drinking
mm.
uh, two cases, and then
Absolutely.
I'm calling somebody else to get something else, and it's like I know how my life goes once I get on that. I mean, I am
Mhm.
not this guy here. I mean, I am the
Right.
possible version of a person. And that's one of the things that motivated me toward the end. I mean, I spent 20 years in active addiction, bouncing in and out of jails, prisons. I did 2 prison terms for drug possessions, and at the end, I was I had 6 felony charges in 3 different counties
Mm,
before I actually reached out for help from the VA, and they really came through for me. I mean, they put me through outpatient treatment. Got me in a drug court, and in drug court, it's an amazing program. It has the worst reputation ever because a lot of people go into it thinking they could just coast through it, but no, drug court actually challenges you to become better, and the support network there with our local judges was amazing. So,
mm. Oh.
I'm grateful, for the VA, for the drug courts. And, it's like I've made it my mission to, just try to help and inspire other people
Mhm,
that are going through something similar. I mean, because,
mhm,
we do recover, like the slogan says, it's
mhm,
about, learning how to live life on life's terms, which is exactly what I'm trying to do each day. And I'm trying to be a little bit better each day. And it's really made a major impact because if you think about it, a lot of
mhm.
us, we are our biggest critics.
Absolutely.
Like when I was my first year of sobriety, it's like I was discounting myself out of any opportunity for a decent life. I was
Mhm,
already had it built up in my head, like nobody's going to hire me. I'm a convict, I'm an ex-felon.
mhm,
I have 20 years of addiction. I've been in the newspapers for crazy stuff. So I mean, who's going to give a guy like me a chance? And, the surprising thing about it all is there are so many people wanting you to get better. They are willing to
mhm,
give you the opportunity. And that's what happened at the VA. I went through their treatment program, and then I was doing their work therapy program, and the job I was working for, they were like, "We want to hire you full time," and I'm like, I was like, "Thank you, but chances are I will never be able to get a federal job because of my criminal history."
mhm.
So I was already discounting myself out. I was like,
Right.
and it was funny because they kind of forced me to fill out a resume and do the application, and I'm so grateful they did because I ended up getting that job.
Wow. That's
It's like,
mhm.
yeah, it's like I was like,
That's amazing. JR, I want to mention something that you talked about. So, from a science and learning neuroscience standpoint, and you probably know this, but alcohol, drugs, everything you're talking about alters your brain, right? It alters the chemicals and how you can think and how you think every day. And it sounds like the fact that you had the VA to support you, it doesn't change the fact that your brain was altered, but the support can help you kind of alter how you think and move through those thoughts. So, can you talk a little bit about how you, and I don't even want to say overcame, because you clearly, when I see your posts on Instagram, this is not something that is overcome. This is something you live with, that you attack or tackle every single day. So can you
absolutely.
talk about the process that you go through to face this impossible every day and how you move forward, knowing that yourself holds you back a little bit?
Yes, I mean, like I used to tell some of the people that I used to counsel, I'm like, it's all about mindset. I mean,
Mm,
it's believing that you deserve this opportunity. It's not about what's holding you back. It's like I used to say, whenever I got into trouble, why me? But it's like, why not me? Why can't I get this life that I've worked so hard for?
mm,
7 years of recovery, and like you said, it's an evolving process.
mm, mm,
And once you start believing that you can do it and you're doing it for the right reasons, life just opens up to you. You'd be surprised. It's like I see it all the time. Working in an addiction treatment, it's like
mm,
some clients come in, and it's like they're there for to make their parents happy, or their
mm,
family happy, or their
mm.
spouse happy, or their boyfriend girlfriend happy. I'm like, but what's gonna make you happy? You know?
Absolutely, and that's my question. What makes you happy every day? I mean, because that's ultimately it, right? You have to find what it is inside yourself that makes you happy. So, what makes you happy? In this
I
process.
mean, I love to see people win. I mean,
Mm,
to me, recovery isn't a competition. It's like I want, like like I'm still connected with a few of my earliest guys, and just
Mhm.
watching them pick up their 1 year chip,
Mhm.
and living life happy without the without the artificial substances,
Mhm.
creeping in. So, I mean, that's what makes me happy, and I've realized that I do wear a lot of hats, and it's like I'm trying to find that work life balance now. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm trying to enjoy all of the fruits of the labor, if I may.
Absolutely.
So it's been a great 7 years, and it's like
Uh-huh.
I see it. It's I want to enjoy life, like you said. I'm the outreach coordinator for Costa Rica Recovery, and I spent the last 18 months, pretty much buried in San Jose, where our center's
Uh-huh.
at, in my B&B working,
Mhm.
teleworking every day, 7 days a week. And it's like, man, probably in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I'm not really exploring the country. So
Mm.
that's what made me start rethinking things in the last couple months. I'm like, man, I really should, take a little step back and start,
Mhm.
enjoying some of this stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Otherwise, it just goes so fast, right? You blink your eyes, and it's like you said, a few years later. When you were at the VA or when you were going through this process, was there something, or is there something you can think of that really left an impact on your thinking? Because it had to be at some point, maybe you remember or don't, that something switched inside of you. There was something that left an impact that maybe, or you just, or was it you woke up one day and you thought, I'm gonna change.
It was it was a bunch of things. I mean,
Mm.
I I I, I ended up taking a, mindfulness class like early in
Mm.
my sobriety, and
Mm.
it kind of taught me to take myself off autopilot. So it was like, just trying to be in the moment. So I've
Mhm.
learned to, like, when I was doing the work therapy around the hospital, just to enjoy that moment, like walking down the hall,
Mhm.
interacting with other veterans. And that
Mhm.
became part of my process. Like every morning I would come in and I would say good morning to as many people as
Aw.
that crossed me. And if you roll the tape forward, it's like, the work therapy and then getting hired and working there for a couple of
Mhm.
years. I ended up knowing the majority of the hospital.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Those connections, right? It's
yeah, it's
building
just
those meaningful connections.
yeah, and you never really know what the next person is dealing with.
Right.
That one good morning that could cheer them up. That could take them off the edge.
Yeah, yeah. The dopamine that's released when you have these experiences can be so powerful. And the transmitters that are created through these authentic connections actually do make you feel good. Somebody that's laying in bed, that can't seem to get out of bed, like doing these simple things, like you said, saying hello can make
Yeah.
you feel good. Passing on a kindness card, showing gratitude, all of these things can help you feel better. I'm sure you face this, given your role as an outreach coordinator. If you meet somebody, and I'm sure you meet a lot of people like this that tell you that they don't feel like they can go forward, or maybe they've lost their passion for learning. Because I know you mentioned you're going to be learning, and we can talk about that. But what advice would you provide to them?
I like to use motivational interviewing, to get
Mm.
them to open up, to find out exactly where they are, what they want out of life, and see if they can identify what's holding them back. And usually most of them can. A lot of
Mm.
people, like the the old medical, uh, model of recovery was just to stabilize someone, get them sober.
Mm.
But nowadays, treatment centers are doing such a fantastic job of digging deeper, because
Mm.
oftentimes we find out that addiction's just the band-aid that's over the wound. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of us are dealing with unknown trauma, and it was same with me. It's like I ran,
Mm.
like I was saying, I ran the streets for 20 years, not
Wow.
knowing what was wrong with me. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And learning to ask for help, that was probably the hardest decision I ever made, but it was also the best decision.
Mm.
So
Mm.
like when I talk to somebody new, I'll share them a little bit of my story, and then try to get their story out of them, and then
Mhm.
try to pick points to where I could get them to look at the other side of what what's holding
Mm,
them back. It's like there's
mm,
always some kind of event or something inside their story that'll help you pinpoint to where they might need to focus on. And it's just getting that person to admit it
mhm.
is like, opening the door to a whole new life.
Absolutely. I love that idea, JR, because I don't think a lot of times people are that introspective to really consider really what is holding them back. And most everyone has had some type of trauma, whether it's bullying, abuse, emotional abuse, all sorts of things. I mean, everyone has had some sort of experience that they've had to try to overcome. What inspires you every day to keep doing what you're doing to stay on track?
I mean, I just love what I do. I
Mm,
mean, I was working at the VA in a non-recovery oriented role. I was doing
mm,
sterile processing, which is cleaning, decontaminating, sterilizing surgical instruments and scopes
mm,
and all of that.
mhm.
And I loved my coworkers because they were there for me when I was still in early
Absolutely.
recovery, going through the work
Mhm,
therapy and all of that. So I formed these tight knit bonds with these guys and girls.
mhm,
So when I was offered the opportunity to become the veterans counselor down in Costa Rica,
mhm,
it was something that I was gravitating towards because
mhm.
I was a certified peer support specialist before I even knew what it
Oh,
was.
oh,
I
wow.
just wanted
Okay.
to learn as much as I could about recovery and
Mhm.
addiction, and it just
Wow.
kind of opened doors. And it's like
Mhm,
so it was something I gravitated towards. And working in treatment and watching the change, helping people, just giving
mhm.
them that one little word of advice or word of encouragement can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And not only for them, but also for you because of the neurotransmitters it releases when you do gratitude and show gratitude to others, it makes you feel better. And so just little by little, and you said this in the beginning where this is something it's just like moment to moment sometimes, right? It's not
It
like
is.
you're not looking a month ahead, you're looking at the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I can tell you when I first my first 3 months of sobriety, it was I ended up moving back in with my mom's,
Mhm.
and I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have $10 to my name,
Mhm.
and I had to go from North Charleston to downtown Charleston every day for treatment,
Mm.
and for work
Mhm.
therapy and for drug court classes. And my mom's house is exactly 1 mile from the closest bus stop. So I had to
Got
walk
it.
one
Oh,
mile. I was out the door at 5:30 a.m. 5 days a week, rain or
wow.
shine.
Mhm.
And my mind was always like, "Oh, you could take today off. You've never missed
Mhm.
a day." Da da da. And
Oh,
I used to tell myself, I was like, "No." I was like, "I put myself in this position. I'm going to get myself out of this position."
okay.
And it was like I could have asked for help. I had, my family was coming back around this time,
Mhm.
offering me rides, and I was like, no, I wanted to burn this, imprint it into my soul to where I know what happens.
Mhm.
I know the consequences of my choices.
Mhm.
So it's like it's a combination. You had the mindfulness, the meditation, the breath work, all of
Mm.
that in there, and it's like you're kind of like it gives you space. It's not like you're like automatically triggered anymore. I can see my triggers coming, and it's like
Mhm.
I can figure out the best way to deal with it.
That's interesting. You mentioned meditation. So this is another strategy that's well grounded in making you feel better from how your brain and the oxygen kind of interact, and the breathing really helps. I did recently a presentation on why gaming and game based education is so effective because of our breathing.
Hmm.
So talk about it just from like your experience. Like, how does that make you feel? How do you do it? How did you get into it? Like, what would you recommend for others? Like when you get in these moments, is breathing a strategy that you use to kind of help refocus your mindset?
It is. It is. I mean, I didn't know much about the holistic side of recovery until I
Hmm.
got down to Costa Rica, and I was blessed to be able to sit in a few classes. Like we offer like this holotropic breath work, really
Oh,
intense, really
yeah.
deep. really on the verge of hallucinating, but
Uh-huh.
it's so mind opening.
Yeah.
You sit there on a beautiful yoga shala, and you got like 5-10 people, and you just hear everybody breathing heavily. Like the music going, and it's like
Mhm.
it just transports you to a different world. And a lot of people come
Absolutely.
out of it, and when we do like the after action, it's like we kind of break down what you experienced,
Mm.
the visions that you may or may not have had. And one of mine was my one of my biggest ones was like I used to see all these faces coming at me, right?
Mm.
And I used to think, man, this must be like my all the lives I've lived to get to
Mm.
this point right here.
Wow.
And it's
Mhm.
like it was transforming. It's
Absolutely.
but yeah, the breath work, the meditation, the mindfulness, it's a good way to ground yourself.
Mhm.
Because one of the things I used to do with my clients was take them for like a mindful walk, or take them
Mm.
to like the edge of this ravine we have like 5 minutes away from the center, and just
Mhm.
stare out there. Because a lot of us we don't notice.
Right.
We don't notice our surroundings. We're
Mm.
always thinking ahead. Like when
Mhm.
what's the first thing you do when you wake up? You're already, oh, I got to start this day. I got to brush my teeth. Got to shower.
Mhm.
Instead of just laying there and just absorbing that moment.
Mhm.
Just
Absolutely.
just calling time out.
Right, absolutely. Focusing your mind. I run a lot, and I was running and I was trying to like pay attention to where my mind was. Was I truly listening to the podcast, or was my mind wandering? And when you start doing that and trying to like pull back where your mind is and be present in the moment, it can be very powerful. And certainly what you experienced, like seeing these faces, is all part of subconscious, and
Yeah.
obviously like making you feel good and releasing things and all of that. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's really powerful.
Yeah, one of the things I learned with the mindfulness thing is the average person has around 70,000 thoughts in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably spend about half of our life lost in thought. I
Mm.
mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of time.
Absolutely. That's a
I'm
lot of
53 years old, and it's
time.
like, man, I spent 26, 27 years in thought. What could I have accomplished?
Absolutely. Our minds are powerful. It's a tool that can really propel us as long as, like you said, you don't yourself hold yourself back. So
Yeah.
JR, what's next for you? What's next?
Um, I'm currently taking classes. I want to finish that degree I started way back
Yes.
in the
I love
'90s.
learning. Good for you.
And it's weird because, like I was telling
Mhm.
you before the podcast, that it's like my recovery kind of opened that door to like social media digital marketing,
Mhm.
and it's like it's a passion. Like so, it's like something I'm interested in and something I'm pretty good at. I mean,
Yeah.
my Facebook Recovery Revolution page has 250,000 followers. And
Wow.
this
I
was
didn't even know
started,
that.
yeah, this was started, 11 months into my sobriety.
Wow.
Just as a way to give back, just as a way to
Absolutely.
throw out that motivational post that might get somebody through the next 24 hours.
Oh, I love that. Okay, JR, I want you to tell everyone if you have any final thoughts, but tell everyone where they can find you if they need help, where they can follow you, where they can connect with you if they need something, and send us off today.
Okay, thank you. Most of my handles on social media are at JR Weaver 0. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah, so yeah, just reach out to me if you need some advice. I mean, I'm always there, willing to help someone. I mean, I've had so many people private message me over the years, and it's
Oh,
like it's a way of me giving back. If I can help someone, give them some solid advice. I'm glad to do it.
awesome. Thank you, JR, for joining me. Thank you for your strong mindset and, for making everyone happy. I appreciate you and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.